Hey everyone, welcome to the monthly Codex Community Call. I'm Guru, your DevRel at Codex, and we also have Dimitri, the founder of Codex, with us today. So we'll be running through some monthly updates about the Codex testnet and also a bit about the things happening around the Codex mainnet launch later in the end of this year and also through the roadmap. So to start with, let's hear about Codex from Dimitri itself. So, Dimitri, do you mind talking about what Codex is for someone who is in a Web 2 uh, developer setup? How can Codex be useful for someone in that particular setup, and how is it different from traditional Web 2 solutions?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everyone. Great to be here. So Codex is what's known as a DSN, decentralized storage network. It's a storage solution, and from a traditional Web 2 kind of perspective, it's not really a direct comparison to anything out there. DSNs in general have slightly different goals. Decentralization being at the core of that, and building a reliable, or what we call durable, storage solution in a decentralized setting. It's a very challenging thing. So the aim of Codex is to be a durable decentralized storage solution that gives you similar guarantees to what other storage solutions in the Web2 world give you, but those are mostly cloud, or maybe hosted um, by yourself or the company that is running some project. But usually it's a cloud, right? Usually, maybe larger operations have their own infrastructure. Um, Certainly, Amazon and likes will have that. Facebook for sure. But for everyone else, it's the cloud services such as S3 and Glacier and a whole range of different solutions in between for reliable storage. Codex is trying to accomplish something similar, but from a decentralized standpoint. Yeah.
Perfect. So we know that there's a lot of alternatives that have been in the market for at least the last 3 years, like Filecoin, Arweave, and a couple of other DSNs. So how is Codex different from all these DSNs in a technical standpoint? Because I've heard Codex is using erasure coding, which is not the same with something like Filecoin. So on a technical standpoint, how does it differ from existing DSNs?
Yeah. So we're definitely in the realm of solving similar problems, right? Where all of these projects are trying to address uh, similar things, similar problems. Um, the differences in the technical solutions and in the approaches we've taken. You mentioned erasure coding; that's definitely at the core of it. But it's not just the erasure coding; it is how it's being used in the system, how it integrates, or um, how it enables certain properties that we were looking for in the system, not just like throwing erasure coding on top of it and just calling it a day. There's actually quite a lot to it. How the data is placed, how the data, and then the relationship between this placement of the data and this erasure code in particular. Um, then all of this kind of works towards either providing you greater durability guarantees or not, right? So we were very careful at trying to design a system where a lot of this different technical solutions work kind of in lockstep in order to give us this get us closer to this goal of having a very durable, predictably durable storage solution. And by that I mean um, we want to know that if you've paid for a month of storage, that a month within that month your data is going to be stored faithfully by the network.
Perfect. So, talking about the state of Codex right now, I know we have multiple teams working on the main net, and also a couple of people working on making the Codex onboarding experience better. So how do you distinguish the goals of the team right now? Do you have any major milestones that you want to highlight for the community?
Yeah, absolutely. So um, on the core protocol side of things, as I usually call it, we have three distinct teams working on um, the peer-to-peer layer and kind of the mechanics of the storage itself, how data is stored on your hard drive, how it gets transmitted over the network, um, so on and so forth. Then we have a marketing or the marketplace, sorry, not the marketing, but a marketplace team, which is, as the name implies, has to do a lot with the storage marketplace. And that is a lot of the business logic related to renting storage, to slashing and staking collateral for storage providers, so on and so forth. That a lot of that is on chain. Um, we also have a dedicated ZK team working on the different proving systems that we employ um, to prove data, and that's a very very important part of the protocol. Um, Being able to essentially uh, prove a very large amount or generate proofs regardless, efficiently regardless of the size of the data that you're proving, because usually it's, in the best case it's linear to the size of the data, which is not necessarily acceptable, because the larger your data becomes, the higher the cost of proving is, and at some point it just stops being practical at all. So one of the aspects of the system is that we are able to prove any size or generate proofs for any size data, um, you know, be it a few megabytes to several terabytes, in exactly the same amount of time, and it's usually very efficient and very fast.
Perfect.
So
So
those are the three teams. Yeah.
mhm. So, yeah, we discussed a lot about the milestones, but can we put this in correlation with some dates? Like, what can we expect in the roadmap for the rest of the year? I'm also going to share a visual on screen in a second, but if we can go through a bit about this, that would be really helpful for the community to be aware of.
Yeah, absolutely. So the our aim for this year is to roll out as much of the initial version of Codex as we can. This is what we're working towards, and that essentially entails having a reliable peer-to-peer, fast and reliable peer-to-peer network. Um, have uh, have a functioning marketplace, and then a sufficiently fast proven system. Those are the three major components that we're shipping in, or trying to ship, right? We're working towards enabling that. The way that we're thinking about this internally is that we will probably focus more on getting the peer-to-peer layer stable and performant enough to be shipped sometime towards the middle of the year. Um, and then we'll roll out the remainder of the pieces throughout the rest of the year as they can become available. Some of these are related. There's a few of those pieces are already implemented, but there are newer versions, improved versions already in the works. So we'll be rolling these things out progressively, gradually. I can talk a little bit more about the details of that if there's interest.
Mhm. So, yeah, I think I can give you some rest right now and take people through the Codex onboarding procedure for someone who is interested to be a part of dogfooding Codex and who wishes to run an altruistic node. This is the right time to do it because I'm going to demonstrate it for you over here in this community call. And by the end of the next 2 or 3 minutes, you'll have your own Codex node running in your machine. So I'm going to share my screen right away. So all of these instructions are available in the documentation site, which is docs.codex.storage. So if you head over here, you can see two different ways to set up Codex. The first one is using the installer to set up Codex, and by using the installer, you also provide us some valuable data, which we can utilize for making the Codex experience better. And if you wish to set up Codex manually, you also have the instructions over here. You don't need to use the installer. It's kind of a time consuming process when compared to the installer, but it still shouldn't take more than 10 minutes if you know what you're doing. So uh, let's go ahead with the installer setup, which is the recommended way to use Codex right now. So to begin with, you can get started by watching this video, or you can also use the npx codex storage command, which kind of gives you a nice interface to uh, download and install your node, and also to run your codex node, followed by uploading, downloading, and all the codex testnet operations that are available now. So let's do that on a terminal live. So uh, open a new terminal and hit npx codex storage, and this should bring up this nice looking command line interface for you. And you can go ahead by proceeding with the step one, which is downloading and installing Codex. So when you hit this, ideally, if you don't have Codex installed, this should pull the binaries from the latest release and also install it on your machine. And once that is done, you can go back to the main menu and go to the second option, which is running the Codex node. So once you hit this, this should get your node running. But before we have it running, you are also optionally asked to provide your ERC20 wallet address. So you can skip it. In my case, I'm just going to skip it for the sake of the walkthrough. But I highly encourage that you put in your ERC20 wallet address so that we know who is the one who is helping up with dog fooding. And once you're done with these steps, you should have your node up and running. And this also logs some of your node's public data for improving the Codex experience. And currently we have this running on port 8080 in my machine. I'm using a Mac, so uh, you can go ahead to the website app.codex.storage. So this is the Codex Vault app, which is currently in alpha. You can use the application to kind of upload and download files, or you can also use the command line for doing it. We have option 4 and 5 in the command line for letting you to upload and download files. But in my case, I'm going to use the application over here. But again, my machine is not port forward right now, so I won't be able to interact with other nodes in the network. But once you have that done, you can also interact with other nodes in the network. But for the sake of this walkthrough, I've uploaded this file called stream.jpg, and this the content topic, sorry, the content address CID associated to the uh, particular file. So all you have to do is to give this CID to someone who wishes to download the file in a different machine. And I can also demonstrate it right over here. And by hitting the download button, you can you can download the file on your machine, and you can see that it's successfully downloaded. But yeah, to check if all your testing conditions are met, you can go to app.codex.storage, and this will also walk you through the testing conditions. For example, the health check over here says internet connection is available, codex connection is available, but in my case, port forwarding and marketplace are not available at this point because I'm on a public Wi-Fi. Uh, but yeah, you can also run Codex on DAP node if you wish to. And we also have an example boilerplate set up on Akash. So you can run a Codex node right away by using the Akash templates. So that's pretty much it for getting onboarded into the Codex testnet. And by doing this, you will also be a part of the Codex metrics dashboard. So metrics.testnet.codex.storage is the URL that you can find this dashboard at. And currently we have 85 unique nodes using Codex, and average peer count is currently inaccurate, but we are working on fixing this. But we also have other metrics that we kind of populate from the installer, like the number of nodes that are active today, the last updated timestamp of a node in the network, and we also have the version distribution, which can kind of visualize the number of people using different versions across Codex. And you can see your node ID listed over here, and you can also get the uh, role on Discord, which is altruistic operator role on Discord, by linking your node along with your Discord ID. For example, over here, when we look at this node, this is not linked to a Discord yet. So, I mean, someone can link it right away in Discord or with your ERC20 wallet address. But when we look at a node like this, it's already linked to a Discord. So this should be the uh, ideal look of how your node should look on the metrics dashboard. And this way we know that this particular node, which is running on 0.1.9, last updated today, a few minutes ago, is linked to Discord, and a ERC20 wallet address has been binded with the node. So this is just the initial setup of how our onboarding into the testnet looks like. A lot of things are still changing rapidly, so expect uh, new updates in the procedure. But the most updated instructions would be found on the documentation side, which is docs.codex.storage. And yeah, uh, this is the most simple way of getting onboarded into the Codex testnet right now. But for all of you who wish to use Codex on a consumer point of view, you can also use the Codex REST APIs for interacting with your node. To do that, you can go to api.codex.storage, and over here you have a list of all the API functions that are available for use. So you can use these endpoints to store files, retrieve files, and also build apps on top of Codex. So this lets you do a lot of things with the API. But we also have a SDK coming up. The first SDK that we are trying to ship is the Codex JS SDK. It is open source and available in the Codex GitHub. So you can kind of start contributing to it if you wish to, or you can also build applications on top of this SDK. But again, expect a lot of changes to happen in the next coming weeks to the SDK, because we're trying to make the process of building on top of Codex a lot more better. But yeah, that's pretty much it from the testnet point of view. Uh, Dimitri, if you don't mind, can you also take us through the mainnet objectives? I know a lot of us are working on some mainnet objectives, which are kind of uh, secluded from the testnet objectives, because the procedure that we have in place for testnet and mainnet are going to be completely different in terms of onboarding and also building. So can you also highlight about the mainnet objectives for the later part of the year?
Yeah, actually, I mean, it's not that different from the testnet. It's just taking what we have in the testnet, expanding it quite a bit, and making things a lot more stable and faster. And what I mean by that is that specifically faster, for example, we've been benchmarking Codex right now against what I would say probably is the most popular peer-to-peer sharing platform right now, which is BitTorrent. And we've been, trying to specifically, we've been benchmarking Deluge or benchmarking Codex against Deluge, and we're working towards, for example, making it at least as fast as Deluge, which I think it's a very doable goal for us as a first step for mainnet. In terms of what else the mainnet is going to have, I would say that, like I mentioned, we're going to try to roll this out gradually throughout the year. Hopefully, what we'll have is a fully functional peer-to-peer layer, as I mentioned. that is fast and um, at least as fast as BitTorrent or close to that. Then also a functioning storage marketplace where we can um, rent and also lease storage as providers and as clients. And then there's a lot of work being done around improving the proven system, which uh, tends to um, eat up a lot into the revenues for the storage providers because of the current verification happening on chain. That is hopefully going to be changing very soon. We're developing our own, um, building our own validation network or proven network for that matter. This should bring down costs significantly for storage providers and also across the, the entire network, and hopefully will be very competitive with even the Web2 prices, which are, it's quite a feat, I would say, because um, it's a lot easier for centralized providers to provide this type of service at the prices they are, because they have scale, they have they're not dealing with a lot of the inherent complexities that decentralization brings. So yeah, that's more or less our goal. So just to summarize, it's fast peer-to-peer network and a functioning marketplace with all the durability guarantees. Perhaps not as fast and efficient as we'd like it to be at first, but we definitely have a lot in the works to continue improving on that.
Awesome. Just to add on the torrent part, we also have a new blog article which got published a few days ago from Giuliano. The title of the blog article is Measuring Codex Performance for Content Delivery, and you can find it on blog.codex.storage if you're interested. So, going ahead, I know we are opening up the gateway for developers to build on top of Codex. We've been thinking about this over the last couple of weeks, but do you have any specific use cases that you look at for someone who wishes to build on top of Codex? Do you recommend them some ideas or consumer level apps?
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually a very interesting. That's a great point in general. I would say that um, it's probably a good idea to start looking into maybe hosting or building a decentralized streaming application or something similar to a decentralized YouTube. Um, it's definitely, there's talks about integrating this into various chat protocols. Um, we're also exploring potentially um, hosting large data sets on top of Codex, for example, the web archive. So if anyone out there from the Internet Archive is listening, please reach out. Would be very interested in providing some sort of um, a platform for that type of data. Um, in terms of applications, there's there's definitely some limitations right now, but I would say that anything goes. Like whatever you can think of, I would actually try it out and see what works, what doesn't. Um, you know, there's probably a few things that will be harder to do, but we're probably not even aware of what those are just yet. So just trying it out and seeing how far you can get, and then reporting back and giving us a little bit of um, feedback around what can be improved. That would be very helpful in general. So I would say that I would personally love to see like a decentralized video platform built on top of Codex or just content in general. Um, but the sky's the limit. Essentially, the problem is probably figuring narrowing down what you want to do rather than the opposite at this point. So that's my
Perfect.
answer.
Yeah, I think we definitely leave the creative part to the developers to be creative around ideas on what you can build on top of something like Codex. But there's definitely a lot of avenues that you can use decentralized storage networks in. But specifically, I heard three or four ideas in ETH Denver, which folks were interested on exploring. The first one would be a Hugging Face alternative that uses something like Codex. I think this is really important with AI booming up, and there's a lot of data harvesting methods coming in. So, something like Hugging Face built on top of Codex for storing the models would be really useful. And the second part would be the developer tooling for Codex itself. This is the right time for people to build SDKs and developer tools on top of Codex. If you can build a simple example that uses Codex SDK or the Codex APIs, that itself is a first of its kind application on top of Codex, and we definitely uh, appreciate it and also help you in getting some eyes on your project. So if you're building something on these lines, make sure to drop a message in Discord. You can find the Discord link on codex.storage. You can join the link, and you can also see the set of onboarding instructions in our Discord. And after you're completed with it, you can also get your altruistic mode role on Discord, which gives you bragging rights within the Codex community. But if you're building on top of Codex, feel free to send a reply, and I'm sure some Codex core contributor would be there to help you happily. So, another idea that I'm currently working on is a simple example that uses Codex and Vaku. So, when you upload a file on top of Codex, it's going to give you a CID, but this CID has to be manually sent to another person who wishes to download the file. So, if you can build some sort of application where two folks join into a particular Vaku content topic, they will be able to automatically share CIDs between them by instantly uploading the files on Codex. So this is a very simple example or a boilerplate that you can build. And I'm currently building it, and I'm hoping to complete it by this week. So if you're interested to contribute, just send a message on Codex Discord, and I'll be happy to walk you through what I'm building. But yeah, that's pretty much it. We also have a Python SDK uh, being developed by folks in the Codex team and also from the community. So a lot of interesting consumer side of things are popping up. But yeah, that should be it for today's Codex community call. But if you have any questions, we will be there to answer it. But before we end, Dimitri, do you want to talk about the BitTorrent integration? Because I've been saying this a lot on the Discord for the last couple of days. So I think that's a great thing to talk about before we end it.
Yeah, definitely. So this is I think a very interesting direction in general. I think again, BitTorrent's probably at least right now, the most popular um, file sharing protocol out there. There's quite a lot of all sorts of content that's already available on the BitTorrent network, and it only makes sense for us to provide as much integration with it as possible. So that's what we're working on. We're essentially um, allowing torrent files and torrent content to be reshared on the uh, uh, Codex network, or at least we're working towards that. Um, that includes support for magnet links and things of that nature. So that should bridge the gap between the two networks and potentially provide a migration path towards, for example, using Codex, which I would say that it's probably a more modern take on what BitTorrent is doing, and it's a I would hope it would be a great alternative. So there's work being done around that. It's definitely not trivial, but I think we have a path forward there, and we're working towards that.
Perfect. Uh, I also know we have an ongoing integration with ETH Identity Kit, which is an interesting project that I saw in the Ethereum space in the last couple of months. So we are kind of considering to integrate it into the Codex Vault app, and this would eventually let you to sign in with Ethereum and or use your ENS directly for using the Codex Vault app. But again, we are still in testnet. Please be mindful that Codex is not yet production ready for a lot of use cases. So if you are trying to build something production ready, make sure to check it with the core contributors before you're uh, taking any big step. We are always here to help you. So uh, just give us a heads up and we'll be happy to give you some advice on how to use Codex in the current state. But yeah, I know X is a lot bugged today. A lot of the community members have been reporting that the X stream is not going as expected. But yeah, if you have any more questions, uh, we'd be happy to answer them asynchronously after the call. But yeah, is there anything else that you wish to uh, highlight?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're looking forward towards one of the goals of Codex is obviously um, being able to power the Web3 ecosystem as much as possible, like provide it with solutions to, I would say, uh, sort of pervasive problems um, in the Web3 ecosystem in general. One of them is reliably hosting websites on a decentralized protocol, right? I know that IPFS is a popular solution there, but there's still quite a lot of friction, and uh, it definitely lacks the support for example, persistently storing a website in hosting website artifacts on IPFS. So we're working towards that. We're hopefully we're going to be um, providing something in between. This is a segue, I guess, for into a slightly different thing, but it kind of works in tandem with host and web content, which is altruistic mode, sort of like an in between um, storing data for a cost, or paying for storing data on the network, versus having the network provide you with some level of guarantees that your data is being stored without necessarily being charged for it, right? So which is something we called altruistic mode. And that should allow participants to, for example, coordinate in storing some amount of data that everyone is interested in, but do it in a way where they can determine how much of that data is uh, properly preserved by the network, what is the level of redundancy for that data, and step in where it seems like a data set is about to go missing, or maybe it's degrading, or maybe it just requires a few more nodes to be um, uh, to have the level of persistence that's desired. So I think that, in tandem with hosting some of this popular content or for web artifacts and whatnot, should provide a nice solution for a lot of the, I would say, sort of like community run websites that otherwise incur in high hosting costs and whatnot. And this sort of in between kind of solution, I think it has a lot of value, and we're hoping to deliver that as well sometime this year, potentially.
Yeah, I completely agree that that's one of the most important use cases that can be solved because based on the recent Bybit hack, which was supposedly one of the biggest hacks in the industry,
Yeah.
was because of single point of failure, or because of a centralized storage like AWS, where the
Yep.
UI was compromised, and uh, basically you inject the malicious stuff into the UI, and that's how the hack happened. And with
Yep.
something like hosting on top of Codex, this is going to be completely prevented. So
Yep.
yeah, that's a very nice use case for someone who just compromises developer credentials and has access to the AWS. It's completely yeah, it's very easy, or the vulnerability is pretty common, uh, but yeah, it's highly impactful. So yeah, that's an excellent use case. And going ahead, I also wanted to give a quick mention to Portrait.so, which have been who have been integrating Vaku in the last couple of months, or maybe in the last quarter. So Portrait is a cool Web3 dApp that lets you kind of host your own portraits. This could be something like a blog, or a portfolio, your Web3 portfolio that you can host. And they've been using Vaku uh, for the last couple of months. And I did see some of their core contributors showing interest in the Codex Discord as well, since they are looking for some kind of storage solution. I'm not entirely sure on what their use case is, but yeah, if you're around the call, feel free to send a message on Discord, which I already believe you are doing. But yeah, we'd be happy to help out any project like Portrait who wishes to explore something with decentralized storage. So finally, do you have any more things to add on, Dimitri? Or uh,
Well, I think that's about it.
yep,
My end.
that's great. So I think this is a nice time to give some end shout outs. So we also have a giveaway ongoing. If you wish to uh, run a Codex node, you will also be eligible to get a ticket to Web3 Amsterdam, which is happening in the next couple of days. So the giveaway is live on the socials right now. Just click on the Codex icon on the left, and you can go ahead to the recent posts and you can find the giveaway for Web3 Amsterdam. And we also have some Codex cubes left from ETH Denver. So if you already have a Codex node running, and if you submit some feedback on the form linked with the installer, you also stand a chance to win a Codex cube. And that should probably last for the next couple of minutes after this community call ends. So be quick, and that should be it for today. But if you have any more questions, again, feel free to drop them on Discord, or uh, alternatively comment them right before this particular video stream on Twitter. We'll be happy to answer them asynchronously even after this stream ends. Yeah, that's pretty much it. We are looking forward for the upcoming month, and I'll see you on the next Codex community call in April.